Hi guys, it's Paul from Locks in the City again. First up, I just want to thank everyone that's commented on the videos with positive comments. It is appreciated, you know, and it's good to know that people are finding the videos useful and helpful. So I have been slow with the uploads, but there is videos that are recorded in the background that I haven't been able to put up yet due to the editing, because with these videos I'm able to just record it in one take, put an intro and an outro, and we're ready to go. But with some of these other videos that I've done, it's a bit of a stop-start, cutting things in, cutting things out. So they are coming, guys. It's just having the time to sort of do these things. So these videos, as I say, are a lot easier because I can just record myself while I'm driving between jobs and then just sort of edit it up of an evening, so they're no problems. So I've had people messaging that have watched the videos, and I have asked for some questions, and one of the questions that came up from one of the guys that messaged me, I think it was a great question, so I thought I would do a video on it. And what their question was how do I personally deal with competition? And that is a very good question. You know, it's something that's going to affect everyone unless you're lucky enough to be in a place that there's no other locksmith in. And throughout the UK, I think you're going to struggle with that. So some of the views that I'm going to have here are going to be suited to me and my business. It might not necessarily suit your business, but if there's anything here that you can use and adapt for yours, then happy days. If not, you'll find your own way of doing things, and hopefully that will make sense for yours. So as I said in the earlier videos, I built my own website when I first, well, I wasn't actually even trading. I was working for another company as a supposed locksmith. We were more of a hands-on with everything, doing repossessions. So in the background I had my website running, which I built on the Vista Print platform, but being it's an American company, it wasn't exactly the best platform, but it worked, you know, and I can't complain. It served me well and I got work from it, but you didn't really have a great deal of control over like the SEO and some other bits and pieces. So because that website was in the background at that time, I didn't really have a massive amount of competition. It was the odd company here and there, but again, I stayed relatively near the top and the phone was ringing. But what I noticed over a period of time is that more people were starting to creep into the area, and of course you're always going to get them people that want a piece of what you're doing, you know, so frightened and worried about what you're doing that they're then just following your footsteps and repetitively do everything that you do to achieve the same as what you're doing. So what came with that was a couple of companies literally on your back. Because of the area where I live, which is a place called Thamesmead in southeast London, initially when, as I started, it was relatively quite quiet to having any other locksmiths in the area. But as Thamesmead started to develop, you get a lot of new builds in and around the area, Abbey Wood, Thamesmead, a little bit of Woolwich, not so much Plumstead. But in them sort of areas, there was a lot of new builds, blocks of flats going up and houses, and they all started to have rim cylinders and Euros on the composite and plastic doors. So these are sort of cylinders that people want to do because they're easy pickings, they're easy to open. They don't want to be doing mortise locks and deadlocks, you know, because that means you've got to understand how they work. So they'd rather cherry pick what they want, and there's nothing that you can do about it, unfortunately. You know, morally, is it right? not really, but legally you can't do nothing about it. So I found myself at the beginning, and this is what I'm going to explain now, is at the beginning you get so fixated on watching what everyone else is doing. How did they get there? Are they going to overtake me? What am I going to do if they do? And when they do, how am I going to deal with it? And you would consume, you know, every part of your day thinking about it. You know, you'd go to a job, you'd be there a little bit early, you'd be outside checking on your phone. Where are they placed? Where am I placed? How can I improve mine? And I'm not sure if that light is a bit blurry, guys. It's quite sunny here today. It's actually really nice today. Yeah, so what can you do about it? And to be honest, there isn't a great deal you can do. But as I said, it would consume time. You get home of an evening and you're studying them, and then you find another company crop up, and then you'll be putting their number into Google, trying to see where they come up, and they come up in multiple areas. They're not local, they're using fictitious addresses to get into your area, and they're using different key terms. So, you know, whether you use the word locksmith, locksmiths, or locksmith Thamesmead, or Thamesmead locksmith, or emergency locksmith Thamesmead, they'd all have a play on the word just to try and get into your space. And as I said, you know, the phone calls did start to slowly fade away. But what you did notice, and it's a pattern with all of them, was the area where they were most concentrated in, you know, they'd cover obviously a certain radius there, but then they just randomly plot up where you are. So for argument's sake, let's say Thamesmead's here, okay, they're advertising in my area, their area is over here, but the bit in the middle, they're not got anything here, okay? So it's sort of like they'll travel through these other areas that they're not listed in, and then get into your area, because they didn't want to do this bit in the middle, because it's more likely going to be mortise locks, deadlocks, or stuff that they're not interested in doing. So they'd rather come over this way to do the easy pickings, and also to sort of encroach on what you're doing. So what did I do? I just opened up my area, you know, because that's the only thing that you could do, you know. I was quite happy to just sort of stay in my area, but of course you're then going to have to spider web out, because if you don't, you quite easily and quickly get consumed, and someone else will be on your back, which is what these people were doing. So then I started to use social media more, and again, what happens? These people in the background watching what you're doing decide, I like that idea, I'm going to do the same. So quite quickly you notice the people around you start doing the same thing, you know. Not only that, they were sometimes lifting content that you'd already done, pretty much putting it on and reusing it as their own. Not so much photos, but say on Twitter, if you did a couple of hashtags on things, what they would do is literally sort of think, oh, I'm going to take that, put it in mine. The only thing that they might change is if you did hashtag Thamesmead or hashtag your company name, they would just hashtag their company name, hashtag the area that they're in, but all the others could be right. And the way that I found this out is I made a spelling mistake on one of the, you know, with the fat finger syndrome, I made the spelling mistake on one of my hashtags, and it got pointed out to me by a grammar warrior, which was funny, to be fair. You know, it was a silly typo, but when I actually typed that in to see if anyone else had actually done something similar, lo and behold, one of these companies had literally lifted my content, put it in there. It was hashtag, everything was hashtagged in the same order, just the company name and an area had been changed. So it's quite apparent that these people were watching what you're doing, and I tested it out on some other things, you know, and again, you would find companies that will copy and paste your stuff. So every now and then you drop in a spelling mistake, not an obvious one, but what it allowed you to do is filter out which companies were following you. And the best thing is then you know who's following you, who's copying your stuff, and then you can delete and block them. Because you don't want people reading your stuff if they're just going to copy and paste it. Yes, there's other ways for them to get onto your stuff, but if you block their main channel through, they've then just got to go and find another way around. But it's the one thing that I found that worked for me. You know, it sort of showed these people for what they were doing, and rather than go there pointing fingers and getting told, oh, this, that, the other, and everything else, I was able to manage it myself, prove it for myself, not have to raise any questions about it, and just deal with it in my way. Okay? It's all too easy to get consumed and get into conflict with people over it all, but you'll consume too much of your time, and you'll create too much negativity around you, and it's just not worth the headache. So that's something that I did. But social media is a good platform. At the moment, I've taken a bit of a break away. I'm not posting as much on social media as I did, because what I found is again, it becomes so much the same old. You post something, then obviously other people that have watched it and they sort of think, oh, that's quite a cool idea, I'm going to do it, and before long everyone's sort of posting a similar thing and the same sort of thing, and it gets a bit tiring. And it's, you know, it's not that I want to say that you're a trendsetter or anything like that, but it's, if you do something that someone else isn't doing and you're the first to do it, it doesn't take long before other people start jumping on that bandwagon and start wanting to take a piece of that pie, you know. And unfortunately that's just the way of the world, you know. There isn't any real originality in anything anymore. It's what's everyone else doing, I'll do the same. So that's something I would say is, you know, if you're going to do stuff, try and be original with it. Try and find something that someone else isn't doing. I know you hear that a lot from people, but it is so very true. You know, when I was doing my social medias and my photos, you know, I would try and do something that incorporated a piece of my identity, so people couldn't poach your photos. So I'd have my van, you know, if I was working on a property, I'd try and get a picture of my van at the property, or I'll have a piece of my uniform in the picture with my logo, or a business card, or something that could tie it to me, so if someone else was to use it, it would quite easily be identifiable, and in a sense it'd be advertising you if they did tend to use it. So I've just sort of taken a bit of a break, but I will be starting my social media stuff back up, because I've had a few nice ideas I'm going to run with, and what I might do is monitor it and sort of show you, if I can, how quickly other people will start jumping on that same bandwagon and following what you're doing. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, and I don't mean it in a bitchy way. Sadly, just some people don't have their own originality, they don't have their own ideas. They thrive on using other people's ideas and then passing them off as their own. It's just the way of the world, unfortunately. So social media is a powerful tool, and if used properly, it will help you massively. I'm not going to say that it's going to bring you in loads of phone calls for work, but in terms of a presence, you know, it will help you no end. Because if you're doing good work, or you're taking on jobs that other people won't do, or you're opening stuff that other people don't open, you're showing that stuff can be opened non-destructively, that anyone else will tell you it has to be drilled open, then you start putting that on social media, showing that the tool in action, that's how it's been done, and that there's no damage to the door. With your peers and the people around you, or, you know, companies that are following you or anything, if they use a Locksmith or anything else, and they're sort of, well, hang on, the locksmiths that we use that come in, they drill everything, or the end product doesn't look the way this does, or anything else, it doesn't take long for people to sort of realise that you are a professional, that the skill level that you have is higher, that you care about what you do, you're interested in what you do. It all comes through. Now, work would follow, you'd think, and to be honest, it's hard to manage that and work out where all your jobs come from. But I have had work for estate agents, because obviously sometimes estate agents will follow you, or it's an estate agent, you'll follow all your local estate agents, or stuff like that, and they're often like a photo that you've done, and it may be that they've got a locksmith company in who's not very professional, or they're, you know, the end job isn't what they're looking for, or anything like that, you know what I mean? You can't target anyone in particular, but they may see something in you that sort of thinks, actually, I like that, and you'll be more likely to be contacted and used. But I do notice that some companies will use their social media for like a personal debates, or listing things up or posting things up that are not relevant to their business or anything like that. And I'd really advise, guys, if you're going to use your social media, use it in a professional manner. You know, don't be posting up political views, don't be posting up you know, a joke that your mates put up there, or anything else like that. If you want to remain professional and you want to use your social media properly, I'd advise against you doing anything like that. Okay, as I said, these are all my personal views, but if there's anything that I hate when I'm looking for something, it's if I can read a company and they look, you know, they look okay and everything else, and all of a sudden you'll see a tweet or something that will be sort of, oh, I don't know if you should have really said that. It's a bit off-putting, and that could be the make or break of whether you get a phone call or you don't, or you get a contract or you don't. You know, you've only got to just say something that sails close to the wind, and that could be the difference in potentially £1,000 a year, or £20,000 a year, or plus or minus either of them figures, from a company that potentially will give you work. You know, I see companies that will go on there and post other locksmiths' work on there, you know, like bad workmanship and everything else. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Now, from time to time, you are going to do jobs where you go to a customer's house and you'll find a euro sticking out of the door, 20-30 mil, or a locksmith has been there before you and they've left a receipt for the work that they've done, and you know, it could be for hundreds of pounds for something that would have potentially, you would have done for, you know, a quarter of the price, okay? And it's so easy to get wrapped into that, but you will cause yourself problems, because if you're posting about other companies, you know, even if you blur out names and everything else, it doesn't take a genius to work out things. And if you're going to do it, you need to be prepared to suffer the consequences. You know, I know of people who have nothing else better to do than criticise a company, whether it be a company that they used to work for, or a company that in their eyes is a competitor, and they will do everything in their power to put it on Twitter, Facebook, be negative, slanderous, and in the long run their businesses are suffered for it, okay? Because what can happen is your competitors or competitor, whoever it is, what they will do is they think, right, you're putting negative stuff about me, I'm going to hit your business now. And what will they do? They go on there, they do fake reviews for your business, they do them on the various different platforms that you can have reviews. You've got no real control over it. Well, some of them anyway. Some of them you've got no control over. There is some companies that will contact you before anything, but these guys know what they're doing. You know, they know how hard you can work to get positive reviews, and a customer can go onto your reviews and see one bad review, and the 20, 30 that you've got on there can quite easily be, well, hang on a minute, you know, they won't see that there's only one, you know, out of probably 50 reviews, potentially you might have one really bad one, but that bad one will make all of the difference. So if you are going to do the posting up of all different bits and pieces, all I would say is be prepared at some point that the tables may turn and someone may put stuff up about you. Whether it's true or not, they don't care, you know, because they see it as an eye for an eye. You want to take their business and plaster it negatively over the platforms, we're going to do the same whether it's true or not. Okay, one particular case that I know of, the guy's details was given to various different companies, cold call centres, estate agents and everything else, and the next thing they're posting up, I don't know why I'm being picked on, but you go and check their social media and there'll be some good stuff on there for what they've done, but primarily they were focusing on other people's businesses, about, oh, how terrible this is, how bad that is, and they got tarnished for it. Okay, now in their mind they think that they're doing the right thing, and yes, it is frustrating, yes, it is annoying, but the best thing to do is concentrate on your business, not someone else's, because some companies will thrive on good or bad press, you know, because even if it's negative and someone's read it somewhere, they may not remember the context of how they read about that particular company, or whether it was good or bad. It'll just be, oh, I recognise that name, I'll use them. Okay, it might not be, oh, I recognise them from being bad locksmiths or they got bad press. The name may ring a bell and they'll be like, well, I'm sure it must have been alright, I'll use them. So personally, I won't do it. Yes, if I go to a job and someone's done something wrong or there's a disastrous thing on there, I'll take a picture and say, oh, you know, this compared to this, which would you prefer? Yes, this door could be, you know, stuff like that is fine, but I'm not focusing on a company, I'm not giving out details, I won't say who's been there, who's done it, or anything like that, and it's just the odd job. I'm not taking pictures of anything that can give away where that was or what it was, you know. That sort of stuff is fine because you're just making people aware. I'm on about where you're basically taking their details and putting them up for everyone to see. Okay, even if it's your local competitors, you know, don't focus your time on it. The time that you can spend doing that, as I said already, will be better off spent on doing your own marketing, making amendments to your website, redesigning business cards, or spending time doing social media, you know, taking some of the pictures of jobs that you've done, putting them out there. You know, this is the sort of work that we carry out on a daily basis. Give us a call. Have you got issues with this? You know, season relevant, so in terms of Christmas, you know, tweet out, oh, Christmas is coming, darker evenings, your house is more likely to be targeted because people know you have expensive items under the tree, whether it be laptops, iPads, phones, speakers. You know, make sure you don't put these items out and leave them out when you're going away for a few days or you're not going to be around. Try not to put these items out until they're needed, you know, in terms of don't put them out until you're all in bed Christmas Eve, etc, etc. You know, just keep it relevant and keep it professional. That's all I can sort of say, because that will keep you above your competitors as well. Because if your competitors are not really posting up much because they haven't got much to show, that'll just keep you clean and fresh. Putting your website on there as well. You know, how often you see people put a post up or a picture up and you'll have no details on there of who you are, what you've done, or what it is that you've actually done, you know. So it's always worthwhile, whenever I do a tweet or Instagram or Facebook, I will then put on there, you know, Locks in the City, London, Essex, Kent, because that's the areas that I tend to cover. You know, put in the relevant information. Don't just put a picture of a cylinder picked open, because it doesn't tell anyone a story. It doesn't give them any information if they want to contact you. And again, it's keeping yourself looking professional. You know, spend the time on ensuring that your uniform is up to date, clean. You know, stuff gets ratty. Like my stuff, it's at the end of its life now. I'm just waiting on the company to send me the proofs back, and then I can order mine. It's been such a headache trying to sort it out. My logo is pretty complex, and there's some companies that have said yeah they can do it, and then they come back and said no, because the company that used to do my stuff, they're not trading anymore. So, but yeah, and try and keep everything relevant. Your business cards, make sure that they tie in. You know, if someone's looking at your business card, they tie into your vehicle. You know, if someone's looking at your website, that it ties in. You know, that everything sort of matches. You know, because for argument's sake, your competitor could have a grey van, wear a bright orange uniform, and his business cards are on silver card, and it's sort of like, well, it's just, you know, there's nothing there to tie them. You know, if someone remembers you because of your van, and they've got a load of business cards in the van, and they sort of think, oh, I can't remember, was that him? And they sort of think, yeah, his van was really nice, and oh right, that card is orange and blue or orange and black. Oh, that makes sense. And the company names on there, the relevant details are there. It ties up to everything, and people will remember you for that. You know, with my stuff, the London skyline, you know, orange is quite heavily in my company, because I wanted a colour that is essentially going to punch you in the face. You know, and orange, you know, other than like neon green or something, they're the sort of colours that are going to stand out. As I said in a previous video, I went for a blue van over a white van, because when I'm driving down the road, how often do you look at a white van and sort of think, oh, you know, that looks nice? You don't. You tend to see like a different colour van, where it'd be orange, green, bright blue, sky blue, and you'll be sort of, that looks quite nice from a distance, and then you'll catch your eye, and as you drive past you see all the sign writing. That's how I base all my stuff on. So, you know, again, it's another way to keep, you know, get all of these bits correct. Don't worry where your website is, because you might not be in first place, you might not be in second place, but I sure as hell know that when customers ring me, even though I'm in the first place, they say, all right, I'm just going to ring round or whatever, or okay, I'll call you back in a bit. And you know what they're doing, they're going down the list of, I don't know, the next few to get quotes, you know. So again, your telephone manner, the questions that you ask, how you ask them questions, you know, will also be the sort of facts that are going to win you work. I have had calls where they've rung my competitors, okay, then they come back to me, and when they ring, they say, oh, okay, we'd like to go ahead with your quote. And you're like, okay, no problem. If you send me a message with all your details, you know, I like to get people to send me a text message with all of the details, okay, or WhatsApp. The reason being, it's all too easy when you're taking these down and you're handwriting it down and everything else. You make a mistake, take the wrong door number down, the wrong postcode, you know, or you forget to take the number down, etc., etc. You know, and in between you've had 5-6 other calls, and then you're trying to work out, and you sort of think, oh, what number did they ring me on? And you don't have to ring every number on there until you find them. So all I'll do to me when the person rings me, yep, that's no problem, we can be there, even if it's 5 minutes away. Yeah, I can be with you in 5 minutes. Can you do me a favour? Can you just send me a text message with the details? And like, I'll just get to you now. Yeah, but if you could send me a text message, I've got it in black and white. I'm driving at the minute, or anything like that. But it'd be most helpful if you could send me. Oh, and also if you're able to send me some pictures via text message, WhatsApp, even if it's email, do that, and then I can give you a quote or an idea of what to expect. Because it does one of two things. One, it allows you to see that it's a genuine call. Two, it also allows you to sort of see it's not something obscure, or you're not going to be wasting your time going there. And if it's a genuine call, then a customer isn't going to have any qualms, because if they haven't given you the address, there's going to be no qualms in them sending you a picture for you to have a look at. Once you've agreed everything, then them giving you the address. So I tend to work like that, and then I've got a record. I've always got a record, because I don't really delete my texts. Not for, you know, they'll stay on my phone for months. You know, some of it probably go through my phone now. It'll probably be stuff that's 3-4 years old. But again, it just gives me a log. You know, if a customer ever rings me again, says, "Oh, you fitted a lock for me. It was such and such. It was only a few weeks ago," and you can be like, "Okay, can you send me a text message with your address?" And then I'll look it up. And they're like, "Well, I'll give you no, but if you send me a text, because I know in my phone somewhere that address will be in there, or that telephone number, so I can click on that number that they've rung me on, go to send a message, open it up, and in there will be all of the messages, and it'll give me the exact date, time, and everything that they called. You know, I'm not having to trail through paperwork and invoices to find their details. It's already on my phone. So again, it just gives you that bit of a keep yourself in front of the game. Keep yourself competitive, but you're not scraping the barrel to make a living, okay? Because no one wants to be doing that. So, as I say, with the telephone manner, you know, where I was going with that is that when I've got to the job, the customers text me, I've sent a message back, received, be with you at blah blah blah, based on the photos that you've sent, the cost is going to be this. As long as nothing else is different, then this will be the set cost. Are you still happy for me to attend? If they say yes, then you can attend. Perfect. You get there, and a couple of times you've been working away, and then the customer's talking to you, and you just sort of say, "Oh, I understand you probably rang around. Can I just ask what made you choose me?" And some of the times they say, "Well, we rang a few of the other companies, and they seemed a bit unhelpful. You know, they were a bit short on the phone, or we didn't quite understand what they were saying. But when we called you, you went through the details. You said to us as to what, this, why, that. You asked for pictures. You sent a message back explaining everything." And you know, the other companies, you know, they may have been cheaper, but from the response that we got from you and the way that we were treated, and we just felt more comfortable using you for the sake of being an extra £5-10 more, or even sometimes you could be extremely more. I say extremely more, but you know, some people will choose another person for the sake of £1, but when you're quoting for somewhere, you could be £20-30 more. And I have had it where customers said, "Well, we chose you over the other people because you've taken that extra bit of time. You know, you've been more professional on the phone. You know, you've asked questions. You've not just said, okay, it's going to be £300. You know, to them, when they're ringing up and you don't even know what you're dealing with, and you just give them that, they think you've just plucked that figure out of the air. At least if you've asked questions, they feel that they've given you the answers in order to build a quote. They know what they're being quoted for. So keep that in mind, okay? And again, find yourself a niche. A lot of my competitors will fixate themselves on the same thing. The emergency work, which would be nice to have the whole lot of that. You know, you could make a living just doing emergency work, but it's too competitive out there. And people will undercut you for the sake of a £5, or they'll undercut you just purely so that they can get a photo to sort of say, "Worked in this area," you know. And you know, yes, it'd be nice, as I said, but find your own niche, you know, which is what I did. You know, if someone wants to come in my area and do it for less, let them have it, because they're less profitable. Because if it's on my doorstep, for me to go there, you know, you wouldn't even use £1 worth of diesel. They've had to travel in, whether they're half hour away, 10-15 minutes away. Again, it's more profitable for me to do it than it is for them. And if they're that desperate for it, let them have it. I'll make my money up elsewhere. So that's where I started looking at doing things that other companies wouldn't do, you know, because it's too hard work. Looked at doing transom closers. Made a page on my website for just solely doing transom closers. And I started getting work doing that, because companies would find me, ring you, give you the details, everything, blah blah blah, and you said, right, okay. And my competitors weren't offering that as a service. Now I could go do a one door closer, transom door closer, and just doing one of them a day, if you didn't get anything else, for argument's sake, you could still turn around and say, well, it wasn't a bad day. Yes, it wasn't fantastic, but I probably made just as much money if I was doing 2 or 3 emergency call outs. Alright, I might have had to travel a bit further. Okay, it might not have been as straightforward as slipping a door or whatever, but I haven't had to go out 3 different times. I've just gone out once and done it, and it's something else that no one really wants to do, because it's like, oh, you have to get your ladders out, and you've got to strip this down, you've got to take the door off and everything. So I found things that other people didn't want to do, and again, that's where the non-destructive came in, because a lot of the people were like, picking isn't their greatest skill. They can open locks, you know. So I went down the route of, I just concentrated more on the non-destructive stuff. Although it was already a hobby, I just started to push the boat out a little bit further and go and start doing stuff that was a little bit out there that other people weren't doing. And it seemed to work extremely well, because other people couldn't replicate them photos. They couldn't replicate the social media side of that, because they'd either have to literally pick up my photo and put it on there and plaster it, or they'd have to set something up to make it look like something had been picked. So again, it was giving me that extra bit of exposure, and it was giving me a different level of openings. So it's just about keeping yourself one step ahead all the time if you can. So we've gone over your website, we've gone over, you know, your presentation of yourself, your telephone manner. Try not to get fixated on other people, about making a niche for yourself, you know. And a niche could be you just concentrate on doing alarms on the side, CCTV, or garages. You know, a lot of people don't like touching garages. Around where I am, they're all relatively simple. Most of the time it's just an adjustment or a new handle. Other people are like, oh yeah, but it's going to be a headache, whatever. You take on these other headache jobs and you do 2 or 3 of them a day, it all adds up, you know. And again, it's the work that others don't want to do, and that's where you can make that little bit extra, because there's no competitiveness for it. Something else that I did try and it didn't work for me was pay-per-click. Now, pay-per-click, if you don't know, is basically a sponsored advertisement that you place on Google. You can manage it yourself, or a third party can manage it for you. Typically they will promise to get you on the first page at the very top. So in my area, when you go to the sponsored ads, they typically have around 4 to 5 sorry, I've got a dry throat. 4 to 5 ads at the top, and you can tell because they normally have like sponsored ad next to them, or they've got a green like halo around the listing, and then the more generic ones are underneath them. So these people, they may be miles and miles away, but they can advertise in your area because they've paid to be there. And how it works, if someone clicks on that link, that particular company whose link it is could be charged anything from a couple of pounds up to, well, I've seen clicks go for, I think the highest click I ever see was £45, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure one of them was a £45 click. So essentially what that means is you can get clicked on for 40, and as soon as that person clicks on you, that's you charged £45. Now you can quite easily see if someone clicks on you 5-6 times at £45 is a lot of money. So ideally you don't want that. And there is ways of doing it, so if it's fraudulent clicks or other companies just keep clicking on you, there is companies out there that can manage it for you, and you know. But again, I tried it for about 6 to 8 weeks. I probably spent, at a guess, I couldn't tell you, but like an exact amount, but I'd say between £15 and £2,000. Now that's probably small money compared to what some companies will spend. Some companies could probably spend that in a day, or probably spend that in a week, but I didn't want to go guns blazing to begin with. I thought I'd start slow and steady and just see where my limit becomes. Like, for argument's sake, £200-300 is my limit for the day, because I get enough work from that and I can't do any more. So as I say, I tried that for a period of time. I got work from it, even though you had negative keywords. A lot of the calls that I got was for cars. So a negative keyword can be, for argument's sake, you don't want to do cars, you put in all the words that associate car locksmith, and essentially if someone types that in, you shouldn't show up, but you still did. So you get people saying, oh, I'm locked out of my car and everything else, and if you don't do that job, that type of work, that's cost you a click. So for me, pay-per-click become a gamble. You were gambling your money all of the time, and there was nothing there to guarantee you the work. So it was, some days you could do alright out of it, other days you can't. So then everything then sort of relies on a balance, you know. You just hope that the good stuff outweighs the bad, you know. And you always hope that, if anything, you at least broke even at the very least. So I got to a point where I made my money back on what I'd spent, and I made a bit on top. But I looked at it as if to say, is it worth my while? And no, it wasn't, because I wasn't making out of it. I don't think, for what I laid out, my investment, the reward wasn't proportional. And as I said, when you go through the figures and you look, you know, realistically, I just thought I'd rather keep that money in my bank account and not do any work than to spend that amount of money, travel miles out of my way, or at silly o'clock to go and do a tedious little job, you know. And that's how I saw it. And as well, customers typically, they want to get the best price, so if they click on you, they're going to go to someone else to see what, you know, what their price would be. So if they click on you once, get a price off you, then go and click on someone else, they get charged, then they come back and click on you to get your number again. Essentially you could be charged twice or more. And then you notice that, you know, some of the competitors are in there, and you just sort of think, what's the point? What is the point? So I stuck with my niches, then started doing the commercial work. Again, these companies didn't really want to touch commercial work. Oh, it's going out late at night, early in the morning, you know, it's dealing with locks that I don't normally deal with, you know. And at night, if you need something, you can't just drive off and go and get it. And they didn't want to do it, so I was doing that. So again, you know, that was a job where I could go all over London, Essex or Kent, and a lot of the times even further I would travel, but the reward was far greater than what pay-per-click was. So for me, I tried it, didn't like it, didn't work. It wasn't calculated risk, so I stopped doing it. Now other companies and the people that may watch this may use pay-per-click, and they will tell you a totally different story, because it works for them and they found a way that they can make it work for them. So I wouldn't say not to do it. you know, but as I said in the beginning, some things work for some companies, some don't. For me personally, it didn't work. So I found something else that did work, which, as I said, creating a niche for myself. And the other thing that's quite important, and it's not really a skill or anything like that, it's more of a morals for me. Whatever I've done, I've always strived to be at the very top of my game. You know, I'm not saying to be crowned as a god or anything like that, you know, far from it, you know, but I'm not one who wants to be centre of attention. I do these videos, but I've not got anyone around me, no one's looking at me at the minute while I'm doing this, so it's easy to just talk to a camera. But what I mean by it is, I'm not the sort of person that when I go to a party I want to be centre of attention. When I go into a room, you know, I don't want everyone to come and focus around me. Hello, you know, I like to consider myself to be quite a humble guy, you know, approachable, you know, help people and everything like that. But I've always got to where I've got, and this is something I stick from school, is I'll always create a situation where people need me more than I need them. Okay, and I don't do that for financial gain or anything like that. It's just I know that you can always rely on yourself more than you can rely on other people. So I will try not to rely on other people, because not to say that everyone's gonna, I need to have a drink, guys, not to say that everyone's gonna, you know, shaft you or anything like that, but I've just always found if I'm going to do something, I do it myself, I learn it myself, I teach myself. That way I haven't got to rely on other people, and I haven't got to ask people to help me. And when I was in retail, I was self-taught, you know, apart from the training classes that you had to go on to get certificated and stuff like that. I taught myself everything that I needed to know, and I watched others who I thought were good, took the points that I agreed with and I liked. Then there was people I disliked because of the way that they managed, but I saw some of the things that they did that got results. So I took some of them things from people that I didn't like, because they obviously had traits that did work, and what I did is I made them work for me. So I would, rather than go in and be the miserable bully type person to get things done, I would look at what they would say and do, and then try and find a way, right, well, I wouldn't want to be spoken to like that, and people will react more negative to talking to them like that. So you find a way of doing it where it's more of an approachable way, and people are willing to help you. So again, you need to sort of watch a whole host of people, you know, not just the people that you look up to or think are good because they're good at what they do, but sometimes these people that can come across as arsey and arseholes, they can have some qualities that are useful, but it's just the way in which you deal with it. So going forward, what I was saying in terms of your morals and everything is, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it on my own merit. Okay, I don't want to do it out of someone else's pocket. I don't want to be riding the waves of other people's success or hierarchy to get to where I want to go. Okay, if I want to get to the top, I want to do it because I've achieved it and I've busted my guts and I've got there through my own merit. Okay, so what I mean by that is locksmithing. We use that because obviously it's relevant to everyone. When I started doing it, it was a hobby. I didn't go straight into it as a job, and it started off with a couple of handmade picks, as I said, that my dad had made, and then some bits that I made, working on a really simple cylinder, and then it just blossomed into something that became addictive, and I enjoyed it. And I took the time to teach myself, explain to myself why, by taking things apart and studying them and I didn't go to someone and let them tell me everything and show me, but not actually understand the science behind it. I just know how to do it. I can't explain it, but I can just do it. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to show people, explain what I'm doing, and understand it myself in extreme depth. So I have, from day one, as I said, put myself in that situation where I will teach myself, learn myself, try and find out all of the details, and I got to sort of climb the ladder. I've climbed the ladder myself, you know. I've took one step at a time on that ladder, you know. So I came in and did myself as a hobby, worked myself up to getting competent, opening stuff consistently. I then went and found a job that was looking for locksmiths. I did the repossessions. I did that for 6 years. I went in at the very end, like the very lowest point that you could, which to them was just a repossession locksmith. I did that for about a year to 18 months. Then they asked me to, they saw what I could do, not because I stood at the top of the ladder shouting down, but because I was at the bottom. They saw me at the bottom, and that I was, you know, they wanted me to go up to that next step because they could see that I was prepared for it. You know, I showed my worth. I didn't get there through who I knew or what I knew. As in, when I say what I knew, I didn't get it, not because I've took that information from someone else and used it to my advantage. I got to that next step. They wanted me to sort of do the training, so I started doing the training, and then from that they saw something else in me, and they wanted me to go to the next ladder. And it wasn't necessarily for my benefit. You know, yes, I got benefited and looked after for it, but it was for their benefit. So they needed me, so they wanted me to step up to the next level, which was to go out and manage the guys. I did that. The next breath, again, because it benefited them, right? Yes, I got a benefit from it, but they asked me rather than me ask them. They then wanted me to go and manage from like a point of view of pretty much 40-50 guys. So from Birmingham, a straight line across Birmingham and everything below is what became my area. So assistant there, I was like an area manager. They wanted me to manage that, which is what I did. And again, you know, a little bit further along the way, they always wanted something from me, and it was convenient to step me up and put me in the position. So that's what I mean by getting there of my own merit. You know, I didn't ride the wave of someone else's back. I didn't hang around with someone pulling all the information and then behind their back using it against them or anything like that. It was all off my own merit. And it's the same with what I'm doing now. You know, as a locksmith, I started off as a sole trader when I set up my own business, and I chipped away, stepped myself up so that the company was getting more work. I diversed, I stepped myself up a little bit higher. I then, you know, I never again stood at the top of the ladder shouting down to people, oh, I can do this, I can do that, look at me, oh this, I'm better than you, I'm better than that. It's just been a natural progression. People have slowly become aware of what you can do because you've done it for the right reasons. I've not grabbed hold of someone's coattails. I'm dragging behind them like I'm on a set of skis. You know, I'm doing it my way so that I benefit from it in terms of that I'm learning and I understand what I'm doing. And I've climbed that ladder on my own steam, not because someone said, oh, well, follow me and I'll take you to here. We'll skip a few runs. You can come here with me now, you know. Because the problem with that is when them people are not around you anymore, something could happen tomorrow or anything else. If you've achieved that, everything that you should have done to get to that level, them steps are going to disappear. And what's going to be beneath your feet? Thin air. So you're going to crash just as fast as you rose, because you've got no basis to understand of the different levels you need to get to make sure that you've got your feet firmly placed on that next step. if you're just going to go up on your tiptoes, again, you're going to fall. So that's why I've always put myself, again, I'm going to keep saying it, in a situation where people need me more than I need them. Secondly, I'm going to do it on my own merit so that I can fully understand and appreciate everything that's needed for me to have got there. If someone comes and asks me a question, I can answer it. I haven't got to think about an answer. I've not just got to waffle and just give you an answer that I think is right. I can tell you in depth what I did, how I did it, why I did it, and if I was to do it again, what I would do different. So again, you know, this is why with competition, take it with a pinch of salt. Do not focus your efforts on someone else's business. All that effort that you've got on them, turn it around and focus it on yourself and your business and what you can do to better yourself. Don't worry about a listing where you are, because for argument's sake, you do it on your phone, you check on your phone, see what the listings are, then go and do it on a laptop or a PC, then go and do it on a friend's phone or the missus's phone or your kids' phones or whatever, and you'll notice that it's not consistent. Someone else's phone or laptop or computer, you might be in first position, but when you look at it somewhere else, you might be in second position using the same search terms, because I noticed that. I'm just going to have a drink of my drink. It's alright, it's not alcohol, so don't panic. It's talking for nearly an hour. Most of you have probably fallen asleep. But I just wanted to share it. It's quite an in-depth video, and I could probably go into it a lot deeper. I'm just trying to think. I've just recorded this off the top of my head. I didn't make any notes, but as I said, you know, a lot of this is common sense, but never react in the heat of the moment. Okay, as I say, if a company does something that you don't agree with, or you know, don't be jumping on your social media, don't be ringing them up, don't be bitching and whinging and moaning and groaning. Just let the steam blow off, then look back at it and sort of think, is it really worth my time? Is what they're doing really affecting you and your business? And if the answer is, well, all they're doing is they're potentially getting work in your area, it's exactly that. It's only potentially. Will it last? Maybe. Is it likely to last? Probably not. But focus on the stuff that you can control. You can't control Google, you never will, and unless you've got stacks and stacks of cash that you can throw at advertising, don't bother, you know. I'd rather spend, as I said with the pay-per-click, what I'd rather do is spend the money on training, if that's what your way inclined. Go and learn a new skill, because the money that you could have spent on advertising and it turned into no jobs, you could go and learn how to install an alarm, install CCTV, gone on a training course and learn how to use the GJ tools with ourselves or whatever, or something else. You know, again, I'd rather buy a tool. You know, if a new tool comes to market and it's a really good tool and it's £500-600, I'd rather spend that £500-600 on that tool, learn how to use it consistently, and that's the return that I'm going to get on that is going to be far better than if I was doing pay-per-click. You know, spend it on stock. You know, for argument's sake, if you were to spend £200 a day and you do on clicks, this is, and you got, for argument's sake, three jobs out of that, okay, and you make on average £150 a job, right? So you've made 400, say £150, 3 jobs, you've made 450 quid, but that might have cost you 200 quid, right? Yes, you've made £250 profit, nothing wrong with that, that's good, but you could have gone and spent £200 on stock. So let's say you buy a load of 35 thumb turns. They've cost you £5 plus the VAT, and you go and do supply and fit for £65 a cylinder. What's going to generate you more money out of that £200 that you spent? The cylinders. You'll make far more money in decent stock, and that's something else I'll reiterate that I have done before. Don't always buy the cheapest stock, because buying the cheapest stock, yes, you'll potentially make more of a profit at the front end, but at the back end, in terms of later on, if you're getting call outs or issues, if you're going back to do a return visit and then you end up having to swap out a cylinder, you're losing money. So buy decent stock, and again, having decent stock is what's going to stand you out in front of your competitors. So I'm going to leave today's video there now, guys, because we're at over an hour now. And as I said, thanks for the positive stuff. Again, some people are not going to agree with this. If you don't agree with it, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm not, as I said, these are my views only, and it might not work for your business, but it works for mine. But elements of it might work, or you might have heard something that you sort of think, well, that makes sense, I'm going to give it a try. So all I'm going to say, guys, is please like, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, which will keep you informed of any new videos that I put out soon. And hopefully I'll see you all guys soon. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye.